Right, West Coast. Good morning. It is 13 minutes after 10 o'clock, and as I've been blabbing about all morning and tweetering about and stuff, I've got Rachel Sutton in the studio. Thanks for joining us, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me here.
We should, I just want to say, we have actually two guests in the studio. A lovely young lady, Gracie.
Yes, Gracie Kate Dawson. Well, Gracie Kate Rose Dawson is her full name, and she was born December the 8th.
So, I'm going to go on a limb and say the youngest person we've had on the radio here on Long Beach Radio. So this is a monumental occasion, for sure. Thanks for coming in. You've got, I know it's your first novel, but is this your first published work as a writer? Or?
It's my first book as a writer, but I do write for the Naturopathy Journal, and I also have been noted for my recipes online. You can find some of my recipes online. Well,
you were my neighbor, and I do remember some tasty smells every once in a while as I made my way out. The book itself, I'm going to leave the Spanish up to you, but the subtitle, in the English translation, is Walk of the Teachers, and it's a story about, well, I guess based on a true story about you teaching in Mexico. Do you want to give us a bit of the backstory on that?
Sure, yeah. In June of 2008, I decided that one of the things I really wanted to do with my world before the end of my life was have a chance at teaching in another country, and I'd always been drawn to Mexico. I had a little bit of Spanish before I went, but I wasn't fluent by any means, and I just thought maybe I can go down there and brush my Spanish up and enjoy the culture and also bring something to them. So I went with a pretty open mind and had traveled to Mexico before, so I know a fair bit of the country. And I applied online and I got a job in Guadalajara. So I went to start my work at the beginning of July 2008, and I stayed for 13 months. I taught 5th grade at a school that was a private school, so I taught a Canadian curriculum. They advertised a Canadian curriculum, and Canadian-style English is very desirable in Mexico because they do revere us Canadians down there. We're quite well loved. I can't, unfortunately, say the same for our American counterparts, but the Canadians are adored, and so off I went, and during the time I was teaching during the day, they asked me if I would also take classes for adults at the Honda car factory at night. So I was teaching business negotiations English 3 nights a week and also teaching 5th grade, and it was a wonderfully enriching, incredible experience. I'm so glad that I had the time. My students were just unbelievable people, so much passion and color, and living in the sunshine is a totally different way of interpreting the world. So it was really interesting in that sense. And then some things came up that I wasn't really expecting.
Yes, this isn't entirely a feel-good experience where you went down there and felt the love and the light and all that stuff and came,
Well, now that I can look back on it and that the book is out, I can celebrate what I saw and what I knew. There were miracles that happened every day, and people were incredible, especially as I was acquiring the language. And I had to, because Guadalajara is not a city that really does a ton of English speaking. There are lots of English schools there, and it's a very intellectual city, but you have to have Spanish in order to get by. So I need to preempt what I'm going to say by expressing my deep love of Mexico and my reverence of the people and my adoration of the culture. But yes, I was a bit sideswiped 10 months into my time there when I was asked to be the principal of the school I was working at. I thought, wow, that sure didn't take very long to move up. That seems kind of unusual that a young woman would come and just be promoted to such a high stand right away. And as I inquired and learned more about what I was doing, I discovered that I was actually knee-deep in a drug cartel and hadn't even realized it.
So, having read, maybe I'm about a third of the way through it. Some of the characters that we've encountered in the story, young children, obviously you would have worked with young children, probably heard those stories, maybe third person, or were a lot of the characters inspired possibly by people that you did encounter, or maybe your employers? Is that how you ran across these people?
You're perceptive, Geoff. You've got your hand on the pulse there. The book starts off with a very large bang. The very first chapter is a large bang, to no pun intended. There are guns and blood involved. The very first story is a true story. It's an account of me. I witnessed this when I was sitting waiting to get my hair cut when I got there. And the very last part of the story is true. But in between, I have taken poetic license, and I've embellished some of what I'm talking about. To me, the whole book seems very true. As a young person in Mexico, this is how it felt to me. It felt larger than life. It felt like almost like a movie, and it was a very colorful, holy, I can't believe this is happening kind of a thing. The characters, the drug cartel characters, I've had to protect people's dignity and their right to life. And also we assume that maybe people that are involved with drug trafficking may choose another way to be at some point in their life. So those characters are based on true people, but they're not really true people.
Largely fictionalized.
They're largely fictionalized. And in writing the book, I've taken a pretty journalistic approach to what I'm trying to say. So we have a story that also sidelines current modern day narcotrafficante activities that are going on south of us.
Yep.
I don't happen to be a person that enjoys cocaine because I really like to talk anyway, so probably be a bit of a problem if I got involved with something like that. But a lot of people are using the drug and not actually aware of how many annals it crosses through to get into our hands and how many lives it affects. There's undoubtedly any line of cocaine snorted has taken the safety and security of at least 20 lives en route to getting into a nostril. So
through the smuggling and the production and the protection of the market. And
that's right. And it's really only because there's such heavy controls on the drug. So the book is designed to instigate ethical questions. It's designed to excite the senses. It's told with pretty dark humor because by the end of that year, my body was tired and exhausted from teaching and working and also living down there. I got sick quite a lot. And I also was a bit exhausted by what I saw.
Yeah.
So the character of Maya is a 23-year-old American woman, and that's actually based on me, and I'm a 39-year-old Canadian woman. But, I had to kind of cover myself a little bit there. If this book gets beyond Canada, I don't really want to be getting into hot water.
Yeah. The direct connections could cause some issues. The book itself is interesting. First of all, I appreciate you dropping a copy off to me. I've had to do these interviews without a book. I haven't even seen the cover of until they hand it to me. Oh, these chapter titles sound great. So knowing where I lived, having once been my neighbor, you dropped a copy off, and my wife actually commented as we walked up, oh, I think somebody must have brought it to a neighbor's house or thought it should have gone to a neighbor's house because it kind of looks like a children's book. It's 10 inches by 10 inches, soft cover, large book like you'd expect a picture book or something like that. What was the plan there?
That's right. I wanted my book to be distinctive. I wanted to wake up people that aren't really reading before they go to bed or at other points in their life. A lot of people are just on MSN, Twitter, Facebook, Hotmail, whatever, and they're not really having a lot of time to actually read literature. I happen to find that that's important, and I'd like to instigate more reading and writing. And I also use quite a bit of Spanish in the book that I try to translate so that I can broaden people's scope to another language or hope to bring them into other forms of communication. Yeah. The book's size, that's right, it's a novel, but the book looks like it could be a magazine or a children's book, and it's a different shape and size because I wanted it to be distinctive and unusual. And there are photographs in the book because I'm trying to bring to life, hey, this was a real experience that I had. I'm trying to make this very plausible for the readers. And I'm also trying to instigate the level of feeling that I had by the time I left the country. My feelings around things were kind of heightened. So, yeah, it is designed to kind of pop out and make you start asking questions, which was what you and Tara started doing. Yeah.
Well, one of the interesting things, we talked about it briefly before we got on air, but even the way it's written, it's you mentioned the MSN thing. People are kind of used to getting their information and doing their things in 15-second intervals, and the paragraphs and the structure of the chapters is like there's a hard space between every paragraph. Is that kind of the idea, so that you can literally pick it up and read three paragraphs at a time, put it down, come back to it, and know where you're at?
Yeah, well, I was thinking of a couple of things. I mean, when I pick up a book to read it, I usually will flip to a random page and read a paragraph just to see how the author communicates, and I'm often being a little bit type A. I'm looking for grammatical errors. I found some, incidentally, in some published works. So it was to kind of get people looking at it, but also, yes, we're in this age where we're used to getting our information quickly, and many people will say, I just don't have time to read, or they're exhausted by their brains and bodies being full on all day. So by the time they get home, reading doesn't seem that inspiring. This is presented in such a way that I'm trying to grab the audience as quickly as I can, and I'm trying really not to lose them. The comments that have been made by readers and non-readers alike are that they felt that they were drawn in, and it's a spicy tale, and it does seem unbelievable, but the amazing thing is it actually is based on a true story. Well,
I've been enjoying it. I'm about a third of the way in, and I'm already really concerned for one of the characters. I'm already I'm actually kind of intimidated talking to you, because the way you have psychoanalyzed the characters in the book, the way you can explain their motivations and their thoughts, and the how these motivations and thoughts were created, makes me wonder what kind of little story you've got about me already.
Oh, Geoff, there's nothing but love. Nothing but love, baby.
Okay, well, good. I appreciate that. In that case, we'll plug your book event. Sunday night at the Spotted Bear Bistro.
Yeah.
Limited seating. It's a fairly small place.
Yeah. So you want to get there just before 6. They open the doors at 5:30. You want to be there before 6 if you're interested in hearing a chapter from the book and talking to me a little more about it. 20% off for locals. And if you are interested in buying a copy of the book, I have some advanced copies that I printed up, and they're going to be $20 a book. And if there's demand for more, well, I guess we're going to have to make a list and get more made, because I only could afford to print up so many.
So it's self-produced. Or self-published.
Yeah, it's self-published right now. So it comes across as a manuscript and an original, but I'm sending copies all over the place trying to get a publisher, and I guess that's where my ego might take a beating.
Yeah, that's a tough process.
That's part of it,
All right, so Sunday night at Spotted Bear Bistro, come and check it out. And I'm going to hold on to this, because I want to finish it.
Yeah, I'll sign it for you if you'd like.
Oh, sure. I want to know what happens to the little street kids. But thanks for joining us, Rachel. Is there a place online that we can get more information about you, or any sort of way we can creep on you outside of the radio show?
You can come and join me on Facebook if you want to chat. I do try to update my Facebook every day. I try to put something inspiring up there every day, or something that I've observed. And then Ex Libris has a site, and my book is on the site, so the first chapter is on there. And I have a Hotmail account, but I'm a pretty accessible Tofino local, and I promise, even if Clint Eastwood buys the rights to my book to make into a movie, I promise I'll be down to earth and friendly and talk to you when I see you.
That's actually ties into the book. There's one thing where you talk about, and it's funny because I think about it the same way in a small town now that I've lived here for a while, and people know me as someone who lives here. I hate to say a local because it's dangerous, but you said you had to leave 15 minutes early in the neighborhood you were living in because you'd have to talk to all the people on your way to wherever you were going.
That's true, yeah. Hey, we do that in Tofino for sure. You can't just run in and out of town for groceries. You got to be ready to chat.
For sure. Well, thanks for coming in to chat with us today, Rachel.
Thank you.
Sunday night at the Spotted Bear Bistro, the book reading for Walk of the Teachers, or
Avenida de los Maestros.
Oh, it sounds so good when you do it. All right, I got a quick Mark Christinger tune coming up, and then we'll be back with the weather forecast. I will be posting this little interview on our website, www.longbeachradio.ca. Should be up within the hour or so, so do check it out there if you missed anything. Thanks.